Excerpt from Finding Him, Thoreau Book 1, Chapter 22, Nothing Gained. Spring. I sighed and laid my chin on my paws. All good, Spring? Dr. York glanced at me through the rearview mirror. I nodded, the only way I had to communicate with him. He was a member of Royal Pack, and I belonged to Five Fangs, so we had no link between us. For the past 3 months, he'd had to word all of his questions with yes or no responses so that I could either nod or shake my head, or sigh and look away when I didn't want to talk. That last one happened a lot. Granted, not as much as it did when Alpha Ash first entrusted me to his care, but often enough that it concerned him. You need me to stop? I shook my head. Okay, only another hour now. I sighed and looked away, still at odds with how I felt to be returning home. On one hand, I missed the Alphas, my Beta brothers, and my friends. We stayed in contact through the pack link, but it wasn't the same as being with them. Also, I wanted to meet my Luna, whom Alpha Ash rambled on about during our daily chats. She sounded lovely and precious, and just being around her and my Alpha would keep me from regressing in my recovery. On the other hand, I was now different from everyone else there. I would be identified as the humanless wolf. I already was, according to my friends who stayed in touch. There were even some in the pack whose human halves thought the alphas should have put me down. Oh, they said it would be an act of mercy, but I knew a deeper prejudice existed. If I had died and Ev had lived, no one would have voiced a single objection. Not only that, the closest person in the whole kingdom who could relate to my trauma was Angelo Del Vecchio, and even that wasn't such a similar situation. He couldn't transform into his animal form because he never had one. I couldn't shift because a hunter shot and killed my human half. For the first 3 or 4 weeks after losing Ev, I was catatonic and simply lay wherever anyone put me. I couldn't even take care of my basic needs without prompting, and even then it was hit or miss. Then the pain came. Slowly at first, it crept into my quiet, sterile world of nothingness. But the longer it nibbled at me, the more it grew until finally it was a monster devouring me from the inside out. If not for the support I received, I would have faded back to the goddess, and I could never do enough to thank or repay everyone who helped me. My alphas, my beta brothers, my friends, Dr. York and his mate, even King Julian's wolf Onyx, who sat beside me one very bad night while I howled my anguish to the moonless sky. I couldn't disappoint those who believed in me enough to keep me alive even against my own will, and that sentiment became a lifeline I clung to.